This is going to be a quick how-to, actually it's going to be a long how-to, on how I've been making the troughs. First of all, I've been doing all of this with 2x4s, treated 2x4x8s, but unfortunately I have found out that not all the 2x4x8s are actually 8 feet long. So first of all, I measure to make sure that they are, and if they're not, I trim off the extra. This is my work setup for doing the cutting and the drilling. I have a miter saw and a Kreg jig, and I have set them up side by side. So here's the miter saw, and here's the Kreg jig, and they're all lined up. So I've arranged it so that the Kreg jig is exactly 8 feet away from the miter saw, so I can use that as a measuring stop for the 8-foot long 2x4s. I set up the 2x4 so it measures out to the Kreg jig, and if I come down here, you can see that I have about 1/2 of an inch that I need to cut off. As you can see, I'm only trimming off a very small sliver, but that's important when you're putting these end to end. Once it's trimmed, I need to cut the holes in it for the screws. This is a Kreg jig. And in this case, I'm only putting one set of holes on one side of this. Because I'm working with treated wood, I'm being very careful to make sure that I'm vacuuming up all of the sawdust. A, because it's toxic, and B, because I don't want to track it into the aquaponic area and potentially poison the fish in the future. Also, these holes get clogged a lot. Especially when you're using treated wood because it's damp. Or at least mine is damp. Not a very good job, but I'll do a more thorough cleaning a little bit later. This will be that entire process in one motion. The other thing that I'm doing with the miter saw is I'm cutting the sides for the troughs. These are the 16-inch. So again, I've made a pre-measured section. This 2x4 that's clamped off and this thing that holds it is all measured. And then I have a piece of wood that's exactly the length I want to use, which I then use to test. So I'm just doing a dry run now to make sure that the blade is the right distance, and it is, so I'm good to go. So now I take a 2x4 and just chop, 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 chop all the way across, and I'll show that in one motion as well. Now to drill all of the holes in those. Any good carpenter worth their saw is going to be horrified by my method and also by how much things are moving around. However, these 2x4s are anything but straight. My greenhouse is anything but perpendicular or parallel. So there is actually a lot of play here, and I'm going to end up closing that play, like tighten things up with clamps and glue and straws later. I tried being absolutely precision perfect, and on the other end, things were just a mess anyway. So I'm not worrying about precision on this side. I'll worry about it later. These are the pieces that I drilled just a few minutes ago. I've already separated them out into bottom and top. So in this case, I just lay down the bottom. I'm not putting the edges in now for various reasons, so I put in a spacer, get a ledge. And there's my side. I haven't put the ends in because I'm going to do that in place in the greenhouse. Because of these screws here, if you put the end in now, you block your ability to access these screws. So I will do that later. I'm putting the legs in sideways instead of perpendicular, like this, even though this is a bit stronger, because I'm going to put insulation and plywood on the inside here. Since I'm in USDA zone 4, it's really cold here in the winter. It's like 20 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. And even in the greenhouse, it's not going to be balmy, so I need to insulate everything. I think that's everything. Thank you very much.